Hello everyone and welcome back to the Quake Pro League. We are on our final match of the evening between Kilson and Avek. Flea with me here once again. And this is a great match to end the night off, I think, here, Flea.
Absolutely. I mean, this should also be a very good one. Kilson currently rank 1 in EU, an absolute monster of a player, going up against Avek, someone who can pull out these incredible, brilliant moves just out of absolutely nowhere. Coined the term Avek aggression for his trademark aggressive playstyle and just constant pressure that he applies to the opposing player. So this should be fireworks.
It definitely should be. Now, we've had a bit of a weird one last time where when Avek and Kilson actually played against each other before, I'll never forget it. Like, Kilson was up 11-1 on Ruins of Sarnath. And even at that stage, I think there was only like 5 minutes left. And Avek brought it all the way back. I think it's like a one frag difference between both players. And then eventually Kilson finally got his first frag on the board after such a long spree. But Avek definitely has more than enough potential. I don't care where he is, high or low on the leaderboard. He is definitely one of the standpoints in the EU scene. He's one of the big names who can definitely show up when needs to be. He's not one of those players where he struggles to stabilize, he struggles to do certain things, or he hasn't got the skill or even the reach his skill ceiling. But this guy is phenomenal. He definitely has the edge when he wants to have it. And he's definitely one of the best players he has had in the past. But then again, he's playing against someone who's an absolute fragging machine in Kilson.
Yeah, and I think that also just shows from their match history. If we look back at Kilson versus Avek in the past, Kilson won both of their matchups in the Quake Pro League as far as I'm aware. So the odds are stacked in his favor, I would say. But you can, of course, never count his opponent out. But first, Kilson, a man known for just being essentially the perfect all-rounder, right? He's got everything. He's got the strategy, the movement, the aim, just the unconventional plays. Kilson is a beast through and through. One of the things that he's most well known for is just his control. He is one of those players who loves just taking control of the center area of the map or any sort of key position and then just setting the pace for everyone else. So he just sits there, waits for his opponent to make the first move, and then he just pounces on them and finishes them off so quickly and beautifully.
The thing is that with this matchup, the last time they played against each other, like you mentioned earlier, was the fact that Kilson did win this series 3-0. Again, another series which did not paint the picture. It could have gone either way. They were playing, I think it was on Molten Falls and Ruins were the two maps I always remembered. And those two were just going back and forth, nail for nail. And it was just ridiculous on what they can do. But Avek, this is the man I've been speaking about time and time again. I wouldn't even worry how high or low he is on the EU region leaderboard. This guy can do phenomenal things. He always plays tier 1 when he has to and always causes so many issues for his opponents with his aggression, a lot of surprises he makes, and his killer instinct as well. His instinct can be similar to in terms of Kilson's in some ways, but can be a little bit more methodical in how he wants to do things, but still definitely one of the best players we've got in the EU region here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He might not be the most consistent, but we have seen some brilliant plays from Avek. I still remember, I think it was DreamHack Winter 2018, where it was Avek taking down Cooler and then going up against Rafa in the Grand Finals. Everyone was afraid of his aim. Everyone I spoke to at that event said Avek had the best LG I've ever seen out of him at this tournament. The man was just on an absolute tear. And I think if he can bring that today, then Kilson most definitely has to watch his back.
He definitely could, and as we can see with the picks and bans, Veil and Blood Covenant have been banned out. And funny enough, Awoken, Ruins and Molten Falls, I kid you not, Flea, this is the exact same maps in the exact same cycle we saw last time in Stage 3. It's absolutely no different. And if it's going to be exactly the same as it was last time with the chaos we had to put up with in terms of casting these games, then we're going to be in for a real treat here.
I think so too. Awoken starting off very meta picks. We've got the Doomslayer versus the Nyx, so we've got the double jump versus the wall jump. So much utility, especially around that center part of the map. And then on Ruins on Sarnath, of course, gonna see the k1llsen picks. Second time seeing that champion today. Not as much mobility, doesn't have the same movement speed as Strog, but of course the deployable turret can give you so much information and help divide your opponent's attention in the middle of firefight so that you can just pile on the damage. And then finally, Molten Falls, the last one of the bunch, is going to be a very interesting matchup First time today we're seeing a light champion go up against a heavy one. We've seen light versus medium, we've seen medium versus heavy, but this is the first time we're seeing light versus heavy. So the basic stack disadvantage that Avek will be at is going to be tremendous.
Yeah, Avek in that last matchup will definitely have to be on his toes, doing a consistent amount of chip damage to make sure he can choose the right engagement to try and tackle down Kilson if he can. But Kilson needs to be careful. He probably remembers what happened last time and how some of his comebacks Avek made were just phenomenal. And you can't really count him out. Like, Avek is the sort of person where when he puts like the aggression on at long range, he'll predict you like just out of nowhere. And his game sense is so good. Like, you may be thinking you're making a bit of an unorthodox play, taking a certain route, but he'll predict your rare no less, and his spawn trapping is very, very good. The only thing Avek needs to be careful with, it just needs to keep the consistency of the high caliber skill, which he knows he's got. But if he shows one sign, just one of any kind of laziness, then Kilson's just going to be all over it. And we know that both these players have the natural raw ability to try and take each other down, but we're going to have to see if it's going to be a similar scoreline to what we've seen before, or the Polish Punisher or the endpoint man Avek can make something different here in comparison to the matchup they had in stage 3.
Immediately off the bat, a nice rail coming out of Kilson that is going to force Avek on the defensive. Can't make any sudden moves with that kind of stack, as he makes his way back around trying to get himself a railgun as well. This is such an important weapon on this map, but it's also one that is most easily denied. Same goes for the lightning gun. Now, Kilson did manage to loop all the way back around, secured himself the LG, but rockets haven't yet been taken by Avek. Does complete the unholy trinity at this point now. Still 0-0, but it's definitely Kilson putting out most of the damage at the start.
A much more defensive game than what we expected at the start. Both players just trying to feel each other out. Avek got a nice rail, but then again the dry bolts are coming in as Avek needs to try and back away. Ghostwalk comes in. Kilson wasn't really too sure, but that missed rail may cost him here as Kilson is definitely after blood. Kilson takes him down, gets the first frag on the board and picks up the Mega as he's trying to look for Avek's next route.
Was pretty clear that that was gonna go that way the moment he missed that rail. I think that even if Avek would have landed that rail, he would have been in trouble, because you'd need a lot more than 90 damage to make Kilson sweat given the stack that he had. Look at that, the double jump railgun. Avek had no timing on the Mega whatsoever. 10 seconds too early, and of course Kilson knows this immediately. When he lands that railgun and he realizes that Avek isn't going anywhere, he knows. He gets it. Avek doesn't have timing. He's hoping it's going to spawn any moment, right? Of course, it didn't, and that allowed him to put yet another frag on the board.
3-0 now in favour of Kilson. Kilson just not letting up at all, not turning off the gas in any way. Constantly trying to push on Avek, knowing Avek hasn't got the weapons in his arsenal. Is going to drop down and try and take him down. I don't think Avek expected to drop. The rockets will come in, and will he be able to finish up here? Yes, he does. Kilson, lovely rail from him.
Kilson doing what he does best, maintaining such strong control of the center area of the map. Now he's looping around because he knows that Avek wants rail, and he's willing to give up that center position to try and bait his opponent into picking up the item. Like, he's just waiting. He knows Avek wants this, Avek needs this, but Avek is patient. Doesn't jump on it just yet.
Was thinking about pushing with the LG, but the rocket came through nicely. Ghostwalk comes out for Avek, but the LG continues to follow through, but doesn't really do too much there as Kilson increases his lead. As he's going back through again. Sadly for Avek, he chose the wrong path to take. Surely he's going to get cleaned up here. Yes, he will. Kilson now 6-0 up, looking that next spawn trap. He knows he's obviously going to be at the LG. Picks up the heavy, and now he's going to be chasing him down again.
Kilson is just doing so much more damage, and he's keeping control of so many more of the items. I mean, I'm just looking at the item pickups right now. The only major item that Avek has gotten is the one that he spawned next to at the beginning of the game. He hasn't been able to secure a single item other than that Mega. That just comes to show how good k1llsen is at that control game that I mentioned at the start of the game. He just completely chokes his opponent out of the map, denies pretty much any single resource, and then he even lands shots like that. That is absolutely ridiculous. And Avek just has no way back into this as it currently stands.
Or at least Avek managed to contest the Mega, but it's just not enough as he just ends up burning it. k1llsen's looking to try and get back his default stack for heavy. Coming up in the next 12 seconds with the Mega following forward afterwards. But k1llsen really showing what he's made of here. Already 7-0 up against a player like Avek. Up 7-0, picks up the heavy, decides to back away, keep Avek guessing. But he's going to realise now that at least he picks up the Mega this time. k1llsen isn't in the best of spots, but does have a very tiny bit of a stack advantage. As he now realises Avek has decided to disappear for another time. Is waiting for him to go through the telly. But that's a beautiful rocket and just a rail there just to make matters worse. Lovely from k1llsen.
What do you do when you're Avek? You're getting out damaged, you're getting outplayed, you still barely get scraps around the map. He's got 3 Megas, make that 4. This might actually be an opportunity. Good amount of damage, he's got the Mega to fall back on. And now it's actually k1llsen who's gonna go down to a mystery tribal out of nowhere. Was expecting a lot of things, not that though. And Avek immediately, again, the aggression that we know him for, trying to chase k1llsen down. I think he might have messed up the jump right there though, fumbled the movement slightly, but it's fine. He's still got plenty of time, we're halfway through the map, and he's got those aggressive ghost walks to work with.
Oh, that was the wrong engagement, sadly. I don't think he expected him to jump off at the right time, but k1llsen knew that if he's next to him and if he's mid-air, he won't have to rocket himself. Good game sense from k1llsen. But speaking of the devil, k1llsen, he remembers what happened last time they played against each other in stage 3 with the fact that he got a little bit too carried away and gave too much room for Avek to actually catch up and almost time things up, but it's not letting him do it this time round, even though that was on Ruins and not on the Awoken. Just 4 minutes left nearly. 7 frag difference. If Avek plays the aggression, which he normally does, and not take too much damage from each frag, he could be okay, but the way k1llsen's playing right now is just phenomenal.
Absolutely. Avek, what can he do to get back into this? Nice little tri-bolt coming out. No damage just yet. Looked like it would connect for a lot, but unfortunately for him, didn't get it off in time. Both items are up at the exact same time. That is not in Avek's favor. He wants a split. He wants to set up a rotation. If k1llsen can continue just sneaking away one of the items, that's all he needs. It's all he needs to run down the clock with the 7 frag lead he has right now.
Right now, k1llsen, some good delay tactics here, just been a real pain in the backside. Is k1llsen, you know, in terms of stuck is actually okay, but k1llsen's just playing it smart now, just playing it slow and steady. He's got such a huge lead, he's got no reason to pressure Avek in any way unless he's at a huge advantage in terms of stack or it's got the managed to get behind him. But Avek's going to try and push in. Nice rocket jump there, trying to go towards the Mega. Mega will be coming up very shortly. Avek has decided to back off and get the heavy. But once more, time has been wasted. Another 30 seconds has gone. He's only got 2.5 minutes left to try and get these 7 frags. But the rails are looking beautiful.
That was a beautiful angle indeed. Just through the outside of the map. k1llsen not ready for that one, but he did manage to do a lot of damage in retaliation. And Avek, still 10 seconds before any of the items spawn. Mega and Heavy are basically tied. Based on k1llsen's position though, Avek should be able to get both, it looks like, if he's fast enough. Rockets need to be good, and indeed they are. k1llsen can't even secure the item. Hang on. Lethal, this is possible. It's difficult, but it's doable.
Don't jinx it.
He just needs to hit the shots, and then he misses a rail on k1llsen, who's essentially standing still. Can't afford that at this period of the match.
Well, I hope you haven't jinxed it anyway, and I hope I haven't either, because I was literally thinking of the exact same thing. But even then, though, he picks up the Mega, he does have to stack to push on with, but what is Kilson going to do? Is he just going to not stand still, but just be very cautious on his whereabouts of where he wants to go? Or is he going to try and force out some of these engagements? He knows what Avek is like. He knows he can easily bring this back no matter what kind of opponent you are. But this is good so far. Kilson making the right rotations, just making sure he's been extremely cautious with where he wants to go and what his next move will be. But with some of these shots, you can see that Kilson's purposely slowing down when he sees a certain rocket place, because he knows that if there's no damage done, then he will assume that there's no info to be kept on. But Avek still looking on the whereabouts. I think it's going to be too little too late now. You may have the biggest stack in this game so far, but with 45 seconds left and 5 frags to your name, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. 40 seconds, 4 frags. Not exactly doable when you're playing against a Doomslayer who can so easily evade you and get around the map. Looking at the statistics this time around, though, some interesting things to be seen. The damage is pretty much equal. Kilson has got a slight advantage when it comes to that, but it is a really, really close game damage-wise. It's all come down to the items this time around. Kilson's control was just phenomenal. We saw it from the start till the end. I mean, how many minutes in were we when I noticed that Avek had only managed to pick up his starting item? We're around 4 minutes in. Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's... When you have so little to work with, there is nothing at all that you can do. And just Kilson played his own game, the one that he's so famous for, that extremely on-point control game, operating almost always from that center of the map, that T area, and then just consistently denying the items while piling on the damage. And that's a winning strategy for him.
Yeah, that was about 3.5 minutes into the game, because I was looking at the items and like what he's controlled in the past. And yeah, I think you were right in terms of what you said. He only picked up 1 Mega, and that was what he spawned with at the start. And obviously from then onwards, he didn't really get much item control afterwards. Kilson had a good rotation of them, but obviously kept his movement and pace and speed. And it's funny because, Kilson realizes he knows what a player Avek is like. He's not going to get away with 5-0 and then be able to stay alive throughout the whole course of the matchup. He knows if he doesn't get at least 7, 8, maybe even 10, Avek can easily make a comeback. And it's very rare to see Avek lose much map control. You see him lose a lot of the items, or maybe see him lose on the odd occasion. But in terms of like the map control and the items for Avek, if you give him just a little bit of room to breathe, then it can be extremely hard work. And all I can say is, for anyone who plays against him, I just hope for life of you that you've got a decent lead to last until the 10-minute mark. But Avek did make a nice little comeback here. Slowly but surely he's trying to force situations to happen. But when you get an 8-kill lead at the start, 8-0, it's very tough and it's very demoralizing, just constantly trying to search and hunt down for your opponent. But did a good try, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and I think that's more or less what most people would have expected after those first few minutes in the game. Avek, indeed, a commendable effort, trying to bring it back towards the end. At least managed to get himself a few frags on the board. Look at these kinds of rockets, though. Absolutely a top competitor, to be sure. But Kilson, the denial of resources in the first few stages of the map, it was just too obscene. And Avek, I think that's something that he has to keep in mind going into map 2. Kilson plays like this, you know it. Don't let him run all over the items, because before you know it, there's nothing left for you. You gotta play your items consistently. And I think that if Avek keeps that in mind, he's gonna have a lot better shot into map 2.
I hope so, yeah. This is the map which I was talking about before, where when they last played on Ruins, Kilson was up like 11-1, and then Avek made that stupid comeback and actually managed to almost take it in the end. Are we going to see a repeat of that? I would like to. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see a bit of chaos now and then. Now that Flea, but I think it's going to be a bit more controlled. I think Kilson's going to realise now that, okay, it's got a huge lead, like maybe 10 or 11-0 against Avek, but he is definitely one of the very, very few opponents where his mentality just doesn't go like through the floor or anything like that. He does. Yeah. He thinks smart. He continues to make sure he plays well and aggressively and not do any stupid plays and just let his mentality just go out of the zone and out of nowhere. So I think Kilson may play a little bit more passive if he does get a huge lead again, but it depends really. Avek could be the one getting the first frag and then pushing on from there, as we will be heading to our second map and to see what Avek can do and see if it can equalise the series here, Flea.
This time around, though, Avek definitely has the advantage when it comes to movement. Last map, both champions had the double or the wall jump, gave them so much freedom around that center area of the map. This time, Kilson has got nothing in terms of movement. Yes, he's got the turret, but that's about it. Hang on, Avek's LG so scuffed for a moment right there. It started off nicely and then it dropped to just 27%, whereas Kilson hit 58. That almost went wrong after Avek caught Kilson from behind, but luckily he had the rockets, Kilson didn't. That allowed him to still secure the frag.
Ooh, and there was a beautiful rocket there. It's a follow-up. The LG comes through. Surely this is going to be Avek's to take. It's not. Kilson is the one who actually manages to take that in the end. But he's got to be careful of the spawn. Good thing Kilson made sure to push up on where he is to make sure Avek doesn't spawn there. But it looks like
Avek
he is
knows.
waiting. Yeah, he knows there's a possibility. He's just hiding to get to the restack. But he's lucky at the moment. Oh, took a little bit of damage from the LG. Avek is desperately wants to try and at least finish him off, but decides to prioritize the heavy, which is completely understandable. Kilson does pick up the mega for the time it being, but that's just great game sense from Avek, knowing that Kilson could possibly be there looking for the respawn. But at the same time, Kilson pushed that spawn on purpose to make sure he doesn't spawn there, and then Avek just gets his MG and then just cleans up what was left over from that first engagement. But so far so good from Kilson. He gets to heavy and he's now going to be on the hunt for Avek.
So far, finally, I was just about to comment. So far, we haven't seen much peeker use yet come out of Avek. He's just been relying on that active or the passive ability to crouch slide. But then the moment I say it, out comes the robot to great effect too, as Avek extending his lead. 3-1. And this time around, both players tied in major item pickups. Now Avek taking the lead, so clearly focusing more on the items, standing tall and preventing Kilson from just stealing all of the resources. Good plays from the Polish Prince.
The Prince at the moment wants to try and be the king of the matchup if he can, if he takes this map and then maybe even take map 3 depending on the circumstances. But Avek flying around the map for the time being, just trying to feel out where Kilson is, finds him, great engagement, great fight to take. Extends his lead again, takes to heavy now, back to the stack he likes to be at. It's going to be moving around to see exactly where we could be. Could catch him off guard. That's a very good rocket, 85 there, and then gets derailed. Kilson is just saying, yep, just finish me off, I'm done. I know I should not have taken that route. And the rocket comes through, just barely misses derail, but surely he's going to clean this up with the LG. He does. 6-1 now, Flea, and it's only been 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kilson, there's some situations where you know you're better off dying and starting fresh than you are hanging on to a sliver of HP. Because you're going to spend so much time trying to gather resources, avoid your opponent, and it's going to burn the precious time that Kilson needs to make a comeback happen. So if he thinks that dying quicker is going to give him a decent spawn, allow him to get some of the items, the weapons quickly, it's not necessarily a bad choice. Unfortunately, it kind of backfired as Avek had a perfect read on the spawn and just punished him badly for it.
Certainly does indeed, as Avek was actually going to back away from that fight, but after that rocket he's decided to change his mind and go for it, but he definitely won't be taking it anymore. He's on 10 HP. The mega's coming in the next couple of seconds. He knows he doesn't have the opportunity to try and contest it or try and keep it, but the rockets are coming in nicely. He's going to try and finish him off, and that was a disgusting rail there from Avek.
What a beautiful play. It was almost guaranteed that Avek was going to go down and drop a frag right there, but he stood his ground, realized just in time that sitting on Mega, even though it was only 3 more seconds, wasn't going to work in his favor, so he just abandoned it quickly, set up a little bit more backwards, landed that opening rail, and then just used the rockets passively in the defensive position. Really, really clever play from Avek right there.
It was basically a one and done task. If he missed that shot, he definitely would have been taken down. But Kilson gets his second frag to his name. At least he managed to get something going here. He's going to be waiting for the heavy, so it's his turn to try and get a good stack and try and do what Avek has been doing for the last few minutes and take that full map control. be an absolute nuisance here to Avek, but Avek just constantly backing away, trying to rail him too. Comes up again with the LG. Some of the missed shots just out of range with the LG, but you got to remember Kilson standing by for now. Just trying to see exactly where he could be going. He's hoping to catch him at the light, but it's going to find him at the rail now. Does have the LG out, cleans out Avek nicely, and gets to Heavy to follow.
I love how Avek has essentially 1,000 more damage done, yet the item pickups are essentially the same. He is really focusing just on putting out damage because he knows that in comparison to last game, he has got rotational control and he's in a really good position to punish Kilson, and he's just feeling so much more comfortable using that speed boost, that extra mobility that he has to his advantage, and it allows him to take these fights that he otherwise really wouldn't be able to. Helping him out tremendously and allows him to keep some of his focus away from the items and go more after the player to do damage instead.
Well, that's a huge talking point there, Flea, because with Strog in general, especially on a map like this, if you're behind, at least you've got the speed, but the wide variety of strategies you can use due to the speed, which complements it. But now he's in a position where Avek can literally get away when required and when desired. So he's actually in a very good spot, but as I say that, he's trying to help himself by getting that PQ out to try and get something going. Sadly, not going to be the case as Kilson's on 59 HP. He doesn't want to take any more damage. He did want to try and go for that heavy, but he knew that the MG will just be a little bit too much. But it looks like Avek is really trying to do his best to clean things up and get that trade frag, which he does. And now it's 9-4. He hears the teleporter go through. He's got the Mega and he's going to maybe push in just a little bit more. Done enough damage with the nail and the rail. Just a little bit more. There we go. Finishes the job nicely with that nail gun. And still got only 3 minutes left. And Kilson still needs another 6 frags.
Avek is just out-damaging his opponent to such an extent that even when he drops a frag, he's almost always ready to immediately either get the refrag or to just restore control, or at the very least prevent Kilson from getting control instead, and that is helping him out tremendously. His aim is looking so much more on point this map than it did on the previous one. So hopefully for Avek, he can continue running along with that same kind of aim intensity. But of course, we're not done just yet. 2.5 minutes left, 6 frags. It is a very tall order, but not necessarily impossible.
Never impossible here, Flea. Sometimes miracles do happen, even if there's a slight chance here. But it depends on the spawn cycle, really, for Avek if he gets taken down.
And Kilson has to move quickly. He's already lost far too much time. This has been 25 seconds without any sort of engagement. He can't have that at this stage in the game. So every second ticking away is a win for Avek.
Here's the jump pad. Gets the rail through his troubles. Avek now just waiting to see what Kilson's next move is. He's still got 1:45 to waste. Mega is up, but it looks like Kilson will be grabbing that for the time being, but the heavy will be up too. So it seems like Avek is deciding to give Kilson full item and map control and making decisions based on what rocket or what predicted rocket Kilson will make. So if he sees a rocket come at him, then maybe if he doesn't take any damage, he'll just walk and just stay around that kind of area to make Kilson think that he doesn't need to do anything else. But he's done a great amount of damage considering the stat Kilson had. The rockets come through. Surely he's going to get taken down. 7 HP. Avek's still momentarily still alive. He's just trying to stay alive for at least another 10 seconds just to waste a little bit more time. And it looks like Kilson has made the assumption where either he's moved to another area, but also at the same time is prioritizing that heavy.
Kilson, he knows that it's over by now.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that he can do. Avek, just for the past few minutes, has played such a strong defensive game, as I mentioned earlier. Every single time Kilson seems to be able to do anything right, Avek deals a ton of damage in return, and is completely preventing Kilson from getting any sort of momentum, and momentum is exactly what he needs when he wants to clean up such a frag deficit and make a comeback happen. So looks like this is going to be a tied game after this one. 1-1, Kilson taking home map 1. Still pushing for it. 3 frags. Oh, one rail, but at this point Avek can just wait out the spawn timers. Kilson won't be able to tie it up anymore. GG. Kilson did make a pretty decent comeback towards the end though, because if we look at the damage difference, it is a lot smaller than it was a few minutes ago. So Kilson absolutely cleaning things up a little bit, also getting more control of the items, ending with significantly more pickups than his opponent towards the end, but still, Avek just had some really good momentum around midway through the game and he carried it over till the end.
Yeah, you saw Avek there 61% with the rail. Didn't shoot as many as his counterpart, but at least he did a lot of damage done, but also kept his accuracy up high when necessary. Some of the rails he did was just filthy. It was just absolutely disgusting. You've got to cover your eyes when you see some of the plays he actually makes throughout this replay. But it's nice though, Avek, okay, the first map didn't go really in his favour. It looks like Kilson was just going to run away with it entirely. But that was a completely different showing, you know. Before we saw these two play against each other on Ruins, it was Kilson with a huge lead and Avek making an incredible comeback. This time round, you know, Avek was the one with the huge lead, but he remembers probably exactly what it's like to have that huge lead and just lose it and start panicking a little bit by trying to hide in certain areas to try and keep away from your opponent. But he did it right, though. You know, he was already 6 or 7 frags ahead. He didn't really have to do too much, and he had 2.5 minutes left. And with a map like Ruins, it's one of the largest maps in the map pool, and it's quite easy to kind of delay, you know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds after each spawn cycle.
Now this final map, not just of the series, but of the entire day, is going to be an interesting one. First time today we're seeing a light champion up against the heavy, and this is something that I always love to watch, because playing as the light, yes, you have the movement advantage, the mobility, you have a smaller hitbox, sure, but the stack advantage. My goodness, even if you get a mega and a heavy to work with as a light, a strong heavy champion with base stack can essentially take the fight to you by default. So you need to play so carefully and you need to do such a tremendous amount of damage to really make it worth the light champion pick.
Yeah, because it's the scale bearer versus the Anarchy, isn't it? So we're going to see a lot of plays from Avek, maybe trying to get as much chip damage as possible until he chooses the right fight he wants to take. And even then, you're right, though, you know, with the bull rush on spawn, like, you know, if he wants to try and catch him off guard or pincer him with just the MG, he can bull rush anyway. We'll have to see exactly what happens because the stack difference is quite large. But then again, you've got to remember that with Kilson, if he does have some kind of frag deficit with the Anarchy, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of room, actually, for Avek to actually try and get away and move himself from certain situations.
Yep, absolutely. It is a difficult balancing act because on the one hand, if Avek gets the lead and he can run away, Bull Rush, it is a powerful ability, but if you have to try and chase someone down as fast as an Anarchy, that's not an easy thing to do at all, and you continuously present a huge target to take fire in return. So if Avek can build a lead off the spawn, this is going to be difficult for Kilson to get up with.
It's a more of the story, really, isn't it? When you're with a light champion or a champion with the slide mechanic or has got decent agility and speed, then of course you want to be the one with the lead because then you're laughing, you can choose when you want to fight, how you want to fight, and your opponent is the one who has to, not, I wouldn't say sit back, but has to deal with the frustrations, shall we say, in terms of when they can possibly even tie things up. But we're going to head straight in, and already the first engagement comes in as Kilson tries to push straight through, but decides to pull back for now, as he's known for his rail, gets the light and picks up the rail of his own.
I know that my reaction there probably didn't make much sense to people watching the stream. What you saw during warm-up was just Kilson run around the corner into Avek with the shotgun, and he just nudged him and shot it, and Avek was done. Just like that. Instant kill, without even using the bull rush. So that just comes to show the imbalance in stack of these two players, and you can tell Avek doesn't have any armor to his name whatsoever. Has to play such a slippery, evasive game right now. Perfectly done from Kilson. He's gonna leave Mega up, go for heavy first. That should allow his opponent to take an item though. But no matter which side Kilson would have gone for, it seems that Avek would have gotten a favorable spawn that allowed him to take at least one of the items due to there not really being a delay in pickups times.
All Kilson needs to do as well, but if he's got the item rotation and the advantage to do so, either burn these light armors to make sure Avek can't pick him up, or maybe just bait them out and hopefully he actually pushes one of the light armors. We'll just have to see. Decides to actually just wait for now. He's not pushing any further because the steps underneath will give away his position. Nice little bit of damage there, but at least he gets the heavy, which is his main priority. And he gets the health up straight away. But look at the stack of k1llsen right now. He has an inkling of where Avek could be. Just find a rail to say, look, I'm here. I know you're going for the mega. But is baiting this light armor. He's only got one available for Avek at this moment in time. And he's going to have to keep waiting for it every 15 seconds. But Tribot comes in. Not bad damage and shots there. But I don't think it's nowhere... Well, it could be enough, actually, to try and go for this heavy, which he has done. And k1llsen has started to back away. Maybe contest this mega, which he does. And now both players have decided to pull away from one another.
Avek, he just has to do anything he can to take down k1llsen's stack right now. He's basically a man going up against a bear. He can't just take the fight face to face. He needs to be prodding and poking and just chipping away at his opponent's stack because of that difference in ability from the start. So far, hasn't really been working out for him. k1llsen has been retaliating, returning all of these shots brilliantly, and it stopped Avek from really putting a dent in his opponent.
This is ridiculous. That rail from k1llsen was even more ridiculous, to say the least. k1llsen, bottom mid at the moment. It's going to go back to the rail. Get a little bit of light for his trouble. And just pushing around to see where Avek could be. So haven't really got too much control. It's going to try and back away, taking 36 damage, and the rail afterwards was disgusting from k1llsen. Just picked up the mega, and now he's got that perfect item rotation and control with the timings of both items separated perfectly, and now he can keep contesting it day and night and giving Avek even more trouble.
Now this is definitely not going Avek's way. So far, the one thing we said before this game started is Avek needs to be the one to dish out the damage. He needs to out-damage his opponent to have a shot at this. But up until this very engagement, just as I say it, k1llsen was out-damaging him quite massively. Perhaps a bit too confident in the bull rush. We also mentioned that before we got into game, right? Trying to chase down a fleeing anarchy when you're using bull rush, not an easy thing. And it allowed Avek to just get away, dodge his opponent, and then whip out TLG for a ton of damage on such a large target.
Yeah.
k1llsen turns around, nopes straight out of the room, wants no part of that whatsoever.
Yeah, quite surprised he gave up all the item control and the rotation just to try and get that one frag. I've kind of felt like that it was quite risky, but maybe just felt a little bit ballsy and decided to be a little bit more overconfident with that engagement, but there's not too much on the back foot as of yet. Both of us going to be the same. Avek puts out the injection and is going to be trying to chase him down. He has the speed and the momentum. Is he going to be able to clean up? Surely he's going to be able to. No, he doesn't, as k1llsen is the one who wins that bout and extends his lead.
6 health is all what k1llsen had left. One more cell of LG connecting in that engagement would have spelled disaster for him. He does manage to sneak out of the room up the bounce pad and even land a pretty nice rocket there too, and even be the first one onto the mega. Avek seemed like he would have been able to capitalize off of that situation quite a bit more. But right now k1llsen, once again with the stack advantage, has got a really good positioning for heavy too. There's a sizable delay between the two major items, so I think we might see the player from big make something nice happen. Beautiful rocket, and then just bull rushes straight out of the room. He knows he doesn't have to stick around. His opponent has the high ground, he doesn't want to contest for that, and he just gets the item, leaves, and sets up for the next one. All he needs to do. Avek, can he escape? What? He just slicks on by k1llsen, who seemingly didn't even notice him dropping down. But still, that stack, it helped him.
Yeah, k1llsen made the assumption that he's just going to try and fly away up to the LG, and I don't think Avek even realised that he was going to pull back and even wait for him. I don't think he realised he was actually going to let him get away. But, you know, I can understand why Avek double backed, but it's a bit of a shame, really. But k1llsen now just kind of letting things, or we say Avek is letting things get out of hand just a tad now. He's got a 5 frag deficit, just taking that rail. now having to build a default stack again, but it could be too little too late. The injection comes in, but I don't think it matters as Kilson's already waiting, but the rails from Avek were phenomenal there. This is the exact play he had to make in order to get anything going here. And with the heavy as well, this could be Avek's time to get a comeback going.
Time is not on his side though. Rocket, good. 1, 2, straight to the face. That is exactly what he needs. Even goes for the rocket jump, trying to make his way over to LG right there. He sees that the item has been picked up, so he's got a pretty good idea of where Kilson is at. Cuts him off, but the aim needs to be solid. Can he land the final shot? Won't be able to. Misses the rail as well. That would have been the kill shot. Hang on, he's just leaving up heavy. Avek, was he worried that Kilson was just going to drop down from the top? Heavy is still up.
Both items are up at the moment, actually. And
Yeah.
I think he decided to prioritize the frag rather than the items. So, but at the same time doing that, he's delayed it enough to keep Kilson guessing. But now look at the items. Both are second apart from each other. So there's no going to be no full item control here for both of these players. So both of them will be... If you give him a headset, the inject comes in. Avek gets another frag on the board here, Flea. This definitely could be a comeback. Only 2 frag deficit compared to what we've seen when Kilson was up 6-1. Kilson needs to be a little extra careful here, as now Avek does have the stack and the speed to try and catch him off guard. The first rocket comes in, the second one does not as much damage, but the LG, will it be enough to even clean up? He's only on 3 HP. Gets the 2 health orbs. Was looking
Kilson is on 1.
That flank, and Kilson being on 1, that's just ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. We'll have to see if Avek gets another engagement like that again.
Was definitely expecting Avek to hit more in that situation. The LG wasn't quite as good as I think he was expecting either. He hears the teleporter, knows exactly where Kilson is. A little bit more will do it. And that's exactly why Avek maneuvered himself around the mega site in the center of the map, because he has such a broad range of hearing right there. He can tell the moment that Kilson jumps through a teleporter, he rocket jumps straight up, 0 hesitation. And that is that aggression that Avek is so well known for. He knows, of course, time is of the essence. Few seconds left till heavy. Oh, it takes a bad rail right there. This is not good. Out comes the bull rush, pushing him way back. And Kilson, playing the aggro right there, doesn't content himself with just picking up heavy, but instead wants to chase for the frag and extend his lead.
Oh, that was a real shame. It was a bit predictable going for that 50 HP or the orbs. But it doesn't matter. It's too little too late. If Avek can win this, he can probably make something happen here.
Oh.
And he does. So now it's 1 frag difference between both his players once again. And Avek has the mobility and the speed to change things up now to try and catch Kilson off guard. But he hasn't got the stack. He has to wait just a little bit of time. And look at this. Kilson just baiting him to get that heavy, to say, if you want this heavy, you have to go through me. But even at this point, look at the stack difference here, Flea. 25 seconds left. Not too sure what Avek can do here. So hopefully some well-placed rails or maybe predictive rockets could make something happen. But even with this mid-engagement, at least Avek does have the inject. The bull rush comes in. The inject comes through as well. He's going for the chase. One more rail should be able to do it. Goes for the telly. They both just barely miss. He doesn't get the opportunity to clean things up. And that's a couple of seconds left. Done. And then that is this series over. Kilson takes this series 2-1. Much closer from what we've seen from the last series.
That was a close one, man.
Yeah, what a way to end the map and the series. That was remarkable. That could have gone either way. I feel like if it was just an extra half a second or a second from the fire rate off that rail, you know, that could have been a tie. I mean, it could have gone sudden death, but it just wasn't to be, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Avek, though, phenomenal performance going up against the Scale Bearer. When you're an Anarchy on a map like that, that is a tall order for anyone. I think a lot of people would have, just based on the champion picks alone, really given the edge to Kilson. But Avek, he made it a damn close game. I feel there were a few situations in the middle of the map where his aim was just unfortunately a bit too shaky. He definitely brought it back up towards the end, finishing at around 40% of LG, if I'm not mistaken. But it definitely dropped a far bit below 40 at some other times. So when you're fighting a target like Scale, that damage that needs to be there. And I feel like at times it just wasn't enough for Avek. But still, really close series in the end.
I was sweating for Avek then right at the very end. We just knew that just one more rail could have just been a completely different story when they were both bottom mid. And the great thing is the fact Avek did make the correct prediction. He predicted Kilson to go back through the telly again to go on the heavy machine gun spawn bottom mid and then wait for him to try and get that rail off. But it's a real shame. Like, Avek's going to be kicking himself just a little bit. But again, another great series from both of these players.
That frag was so strange. Kilson going on the bounce pad and Avek just walking right on by him, and it didn't seem like he caught a glimpse of him at all. But yeah, Avek, he mounted a really strong comeback towards the end there. And I love seeing what this man was capable of. Just the hyper-aggressive plays. And they weren't uncalled for, they weren't unwarranted at all. Like, just the moment he heard Kilson go through the teleporter, he doesn't hesitate more than a second. Instantly, the rocket jump, the chase, and it did so well to his opponent. But in the end, I think the stack difference was just a bit too much.
Yeah, I just can't believe it. Literally, when I was watching that, I thought he was really going to be able to get that final frag on the board. And, well, not the final frag, but at least the frag to equalise things and take it to sudden death. But we expected both these players to be causing absolute chaos and a muckery here. We knew that there's going to be some weird matchups and comebacks going from there. But yeah, the heavy to light champion picks you were talking about before in comparison, it shows that, not every time it does work. I suppose Avek was trying and figure out maybe a different way to try and tackle down Kilson compared to when they last played in Molten Falls, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah. Still a really good game. I think we saw a lot of really good games earlier. There's so many excellent moments that came to mind. Wenger versus Cypher, that one rocket. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. But I've just been told that the schedule is indeed ready, so we can take another look at that. Just go over the games that we have seen earlier today. And my goodness, Lethal, what are your thoughts just in general?
Well, I see the big 26 coming up on the side of Razy, taking it 26-5 on Blood Run, which is unheard of. But a lot of his matches were very close, very back and forth. The only thing that wasn't was k1llsen versus Tox. But again, a 3-0 scoreline doesn't really paint the picture on exactly how the scores went on each individual map. But all very, very close. Like Nosfer versus Dewey, one frag apart from both those players on every single map. It was somewhere, I wouldn't even say any of these matchups were a whitewash. They're all very, very close, but could have gone either way. A lot of 50-50 kind of situations. But, we saw from earlier, like k1llsen with his rails against Tox was just absolutely disgusting.
Yep, there were far too many excellent moments to go over. So many close calls, as you just mentioned yourself, right? Just the final scoreline. It doesn't tell the whole story. We saw some excellent plays. Sparty, so close to closing it out. Genic, same thing there. We even saw Effortless almost take a map from Rafa. I mean, so many good, or near upsets, I should say. It was a beautiful stream, some excellent games. Kilson taking down Avek 2-1, Wenger losing to Cypher, and then of course that Dramas versus Xanaku map. For those of you just joining us now, that match has been postponed, will be played later and will of course be made available on the YouTube channel of the Quake Pro League.
Yeah, the match number 5, Effortless with Rafa. Even if Effortless took one map, that would have been a huge surprise, especially on Blood Run. There was neither player actually stabilized and kept control. Like, it was just very, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it was interesting. It's just a lot of mistakes made from both players, and Effortless definitely has improved, but you saw from there, I think it just took a little bit of time for Rafa to get into the swing of things, warm up a bit here and there, and then see what happens. But of course, we will have the old standings coming up shortly. So what we'll be looking at is the old standings to see what the point system was like beforehand, and then we'll look at the new standings afterwards to see how things have changed after this week has commenced. And as you can see, these are the old ones with Rafa, as usual, at least 200 points clear. And I think we are going to see a few changes here. For example, with Cypher taking that series earlier, we're going to see him jump up a little bit. And even with Razy taking that W2, Wenger, I feel like, might be in the same position, but the point deficit compared to the rest of the top 5 may be a little bit different from what we've seen before.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to see some of the biggest changes, right? Like the 4, 5, 6, Cypher, Razy, Wenger. I think there's going to be a few changes right there, given the results that we just saw. Of course, Cypher going up against Wenger, and then Razy having a really strong showing of his own. moving down the ladder a bit cooler, also going to get a nice injection of points after taking out Toxic 3-0 after not having been able to perform as consistently as some people would have expected. But we do have the updated leaderboard, so with just 3 weeks left to go, we can take a look exactly at how things have changed. Rafa, first player to break the 800 points barrier, congratulations to him and Team Liquid. Kilson trailing in second, Cypher at long last securing himself the third place spot, followed closely by Razy, tied with the Hang, and now we've got Wenger.
Cypher's just on the up and up and up, isn't he? He's literally, there's nothing stopping this man at this moment in time. The series he won against Wenger was extremely important for the leaderboard to make sure not only to stop Wenger from overtaking him, but just to try and get that third place spot, which he has done, which is remarkable stuff from him. Another thing as well, Saigib from the Americas region, you can see that he sneaks into 10th place, taking over Tox due to the fact that Tox did lose earlier against k1llsen, so that's been not too bad for him, but still very, very close. And you can see a couple of other players like, Nosfer, Dewey, even Dramas could also sneak into that top 10 spot, but they will be fighting against their other America's counterparts going forward.
Yeah. So I think that more or less spells it for today. We saw a lot of excellent matches, some very interesting changes in the leaderboard, several players that are just cementing themselves more and more towards the top of the leaderboard. Cypher, as you mentioned, an absolute resurgence of one of the greatest players in all time. But then on the other hand, we still have a few players that are down below at risk of relegation. Of course, there will be 2 in each region that will have to face off in the relegation matches, but still, there's plenty of time left for any of these players to put themselves out of danger zone, but it's going to be a difficult and tall order for them.
It will be a tall order. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of these players, especially dancing around that relegation zone. And Flea, last thing from you, final thoughts on the day?
I mean, it was a great day. Lots of excellent Quake. I mean, if you love the game, if you love the series, that is all that matters in the end. Just a bit of a reminder, guys, don't forget all of our pros, they're available, they're active on social media, they've got their own streams. Don't forget to follow the Quake channel on Twitter, and of course, stop by the stream of any of the pros that you like. You're free to talk to them, throw a sub their way, show some support and love to your favorites.
That is right. Thank you very much, Flea, for popping down, and thank you everyone at home for watching. Thank you to the production team, thank you to Bethesda, thank you everyone to make the Pro League happen, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.